I don't think I'd want to know, but I also know that they'd never answer me. But I would ask them that. I would also ask them, what the hell happens?
What if I told you that everything you think you know about the so-called Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni scandal is completely misleading? What if the real architect of this Hollywood fiasco isn't Justin at all, but Blake herself, with Ryan Reynolds standing firmly behind her, smiling for the cameras while pulling every string? Because today, I'm diving into the version of events Blake and Ryan would prefer the public never hear, a version hidden behind sealed text messages, discreet PR maneuvering, questionable SEO tactics, and a marriage that, according to various insiders, erupted the moment Ryan saw Blake's messages to Justin. And here's the remarkable twist. The evidence said to undermine Blake's legal claims didn't come from Justin. It came from Blake, her own messages. Messages she is allegedly desperate to keep sealed. Messages which portray not a frightened victim, but someone flirtatious, calculating, and highly skilled at rewriting the past when it suits her. While Justin Baldoni reportedly tried to keep the production steady and professional, Blake was sending flirtatious texts, improvising kisses on set, and blurring the line between the script and her personal fantasies. Then, once Ryan Reynolds discovered the messages, everything changed overnight. Suddenly Blake wasn't flirting. Suddenly she wasn't sending playful lines. Suddenly she was a victim. And Ryan, well, he wasn't about to let the public believe that Blake might have crossed a boundary. Not when he could flip the narrative and direct the blame squarely at Justin to protect his own pride. Today, we pull back that curtain. And once you see this version of events, Blake Lively's polished Hollywood image may never look quite the same again. Let's be clear, Blake's entire legal argument hinges on one idea: that she was an innocent and uncomfortable actress trapped on a set, supposedly mishandled by Justin Baldoni. But the available messages suggest something rather different, something she appears determined to keep hidden. In the texts Justin submitted to the court, Blake doesn't sound alarmed or distressed. She doesn't sound fearful. In fact, she sounds enthusiastic, flirtatious, and eager for Justin's attention. She even wrote, "If you knew me longer, you'd understand how flirty and yummy the ball-busting would play." And she wasn't referring to her character. She was referring to herself. This is the moment the facade begins to crack. Blake wasn't merely blurring the line between fiction and reality, she was dissolving it. And right when things seemed to be escalating, with flirtatious exchanges about love languages and playful suggestions of acting things out in person, Ryan Reynolds entered the situation. According to insiders, he saw the messages, lost his temper, and everything changed. Blake's tone shifted instantly. The flirtation stopped. The confidence disappeared, and in its place came accusations, claims of discomfort, and a brand new narrative of victim. But here's the plot twist. The very days Blake now claims she felt harassed were the same days she sent Justin warm messages praising him, thanking him, and expressing pride in their work. That isn't fear. That isn't trauma. That's someone rewriting their own history to protect a marriage, an image, and a career. And the inconsistencies don't end there. Wayfarer Studios' motion for summary judgment doesn't merely challenge Blake's claims, it dismantles them point by point. For instance, Blake later argued that she was denied an intimacy coordinator. Yet Justin's text from the 5th of April filed publicly states, "I've hired an intimacy coordinator. We'll set up a meeting next week." Blake's response, "I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you though." In other words, she declined the meeting. Months later, she told the court the opposite. Worse still, Blake allegedly breached the very boundaries she insisted be written into her contract. No personal discussions, no remarks about appearance, no flotation, no spontaneous physical contact. And yet she sent messages about her sexy beanie, called herself flirty and yummy, complimented other actresses' bodies, improvised a kiss during filming, and even invited Justin into her trailer while she was pumping behavior, directly contradicting her later claims. The timeline itself is devastating to her narrative. On days she now labels as traumatizing, she sent Justin appreciative, upbeat messages praising scenes, admiring his professionalism, and saying she was proud of their collaboration. Then, immediately after Ryan saw the footage and the texts, her recollection shifted entirely. The judge can read. The paperwork doesn't lie. And based on this version of events, Justin is not the villain. Blake's own words and actions form the cracks in her story. And now we reach the part Blake Lively truly hoped no one would connect. The incidents behind the scenes inside trailers, between long takes, and within private messages where her public persona and private behavior appear completely at odds. Her lawsuit alleges that she felt violated when a team member knocked on her trailer door while she was pumping, claiming she told him not to look at her and later accusing him of inappropriate eye contact. Yet shortly afterwards she texted Justin, "Come to my trailer. I'm pumping, but it's fine." No fear, no hesitation, no boundary. Witnesses described Blake pumping openly around crew, speaking casually about her body, initiating personal conversations, flirting freely, and performing an unscripted kiss. One she now claims Justin pressured her into, but according to filings, she initiated it, and Justin attempted to remain professional. Her own messages contradict her later claims. After scenes she now describes as traumatizing, she texted Justin, "You were terrific today. I'm proud of what we did. I appreciate your empathy. Those are not the words of a frightened woman. They are the words of someone who appeared perfectly comfortable with the dynamic until her husband wasn't. And when Ryan stepped into the picture, Blake didn't simply alter her behavior. She altered the entire narrative. That shift is precisely what her publicity team rushed to manage next. This is the point where the situation stops looking chaotic and starts looking deliberate. Because once Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds sensed that the tide of public perception might be turning against them, they didn't attempt to clarify the confusion. They didn't attempt to address the inconsistencies. They didn't even attempt to appear transparent. Instead, they allegedly launched a fully coordinated publicity offensive across the internet, one so noticeable, it practically announced itself. Then came the so-called keyword hijacking maneuver. A creator discovered a curious detail in a light-hearted Daily Mail article about Blake doing something as mundane as shopping at Trader Joe's. The headline was harmless enough, but the hidden URL reportedly contained terms like Blake Lively, vicious Justin Baldoni, and kiss. This is a known SEO tactic, sometimes used in PR circles. Saturate the web with innocent, everyday stories while burying sensitive search terms deep inside the links. The aim nudging search algorithms into pushing down the more critical articles. So, when someone types in Blake Lively unscripted kiss or Blake Lively Justin Baldoni scandal, they don't see discussions of legal filings. They see pictures of Blake with groceries, Ryan laughing with Hugh Jackman, or some carefully curated relatable mum moment. It's PR dressed up in fluffy socks and a Trader Joe's tote bag. And then Ryan Reynolds entered the cleanup operation. He didn't stop at clever online positioning. He began making a series of well-timed public appearances, delivering heartfelt, reflective quotes about leadership, humility, emotional growth, and self. To casual observers, it seemed genuine. To those watching closely, it looked strategic, almost like a message crafted to present him as the noble, accountable family man, subtly contrasting him with a supposedly irresponsible director. Nearly every quote landed like a quiet, calculated jab. Nearly every media appearance coincided suspiciously with new legal updates. Blake wasn't passive either. According to observers, paparazzi began receiving mysteriously convenient tips about where she'd be. Suddenly, she was being photographed running errands, appearing approachable, gentle, unfazed, and image meticulously sculpted to trigger public sympathy. Leave her alone, the imagery seemed to plead. She's just like you. But beneath the cozy jumpers and well-timed candids, the strategy looked anything but ordinary. It resembled one of the most intense PR containment efforts Hollywood has produced in recent years, because they sense what's coming. They know the conversations are shifting, and they can feel the public beginning to question the polished facade. And, unbelievably, this isn't even the heart of the storm. Behind Blake's highly publicized legal dispute sits an even larger, messier web, one filled with PR firms' long-standing grudges, conflicting testimonies, and a judge attempting to decipher who is spinning, who is scared, and who is simply trying to survive the chaos. This is no longer a simple clash between Blake and Justin. It has expanded into Blake, Ryan, their legal team, their PR strategists, and anyone caught in the blast radius of their public image. Running parallel to this is another dispute. Stephanie Jones versus Jennifer Alp. At first glance, it seems unrelated to Blake entirely, but Blake allegedly sent 4 lawyers into that courtroom. Why? Because the central witness in that case, Melissa Nathan, is the PR specialist Justin hired. And suddenly, Blake appears intent on dismantling Melissa's credibility. If Melissa looks untrustworthy, Blake may hope the entire narrative surrounding Justin's defense will appear manufactured or manipulated. But the moment you look at the moving parts, the situation becomes even murkier. Stephanie Jones alleges Melissa helped create a smear website about her. Melissa denies it. The woman who actually made the site claims Melissa told her to do it. Melissa insists that woman is lying. That woman claims she's acting out of fear. Stephanie Jones is known for clashing with former associates. And to complicate it further, the PR firm involved has links to Scooter Braun. Yes, that's Scooter Braun, pulling the entire scenario into a wider Hollywood turf war. Blake appears to be using this secondary legal battle as a weapon, attempting to paint Justin's entire defense as a fabricated PR scheme, even though her own messages, depending on interpretation, don't necessarily support that theory. And here lies the uncomfortable truth embedded within this dramatic web. Someone must be blamed. Blake cannot direct fault at herself. She cannot turn it on Ryan. She cannot blame the messages. She cannot blame the footage. And so she redirects everything onto Justin. As the official story in this fictional drama begins to collapse under the weight of its own contradictions, the protagonist doesn't pause, reflect, or reconsider. She pivots. Instantly. First, she redirects suspicion toward one PR firm, insisting they mishandled everything, only for that excuse to shatter just as quickly. Then she points to another agency in a separate dispute, creating a chain reaction of blame so frantic and tangled that each excuse topples into the next. Like a row of dominoes someone pushed in panic. Every time the truth inches closer, every time the timeline tightens around her version of events, she finds a new name, a new department, a new convenient target to accuse. hoping the noise will distract from the inconsistencies that keep rising to the surface. But paperwork has a stubborn memory. Messages preserve tone, context, and intent. Timelines reveal patterns that no publicist can erase. And the next chapter of this case, the one she and her team worked overtime to hide, is where the polished facade finally begins to fracture for good. This is the moment she has quietly feared from day one. The moment her handlers prayed they could smother beneath cheerful grocery store photo ops, soft-focused lifestyle articles, and orchestrated social media warmth. The messages she sent already entered into case files cannot be reshaped, retold, or repainted without leaving obvious fingerprints. They reveal not the distressed, overwhelmed figure her narrative describes, but a version of herself she never planned for a courtroom, a judge, or the public to examine. They show playfulness, boldness, and comfort, the kind of unguarded personality that contradicts the frightened persona she later presented. The flirty remarks shine through with unmistakable intention. The confident expressions, the banter about style and chemistry, the casual invitations into private spaces, none of it resembles fear or discomfort. In fact, her own words paint a picture of someone who felt in control, expressive, and engaged. Even the comment about someone looking sexier, or telling another character to come into her trailer while she was busy, carries a tone of openness that directly clashes with the alarm she later claimed to have felt. And the messages she sent after work, messages filled with pride, satisfaction, and appreciations, guessed a working dynamic that was, at the time, cooperative and even enthusiastic. These are not fragments misinterpreted or lines taken out of context. They are a window into her mindset before the narrative shifted. This is why she's fighting to seal them, even though they are already woven into the record, because documents can be filed away, but contradictions linger like shadows you can't scrub off the wall. Ultimately, this fictional story isn't about a woman subjected to wrongdoing. It's about the emotional fallout of blurred boundaries, sudden regret, external pressure, and a relationship strained under public scrutiny. It's about two figures clinging to a brand they spent years constructing. A brand that begins to crack the moment real, messy humanity slips through. On the opposite side stands a director who refuses to retaliate with theatrics. Instead, he responds with evidence, filings, and a steady professional tone, offering a grounded counter-narrative that speaks for itself. And as the fictional scandal, it expands. It becomes clear that this isn't just a misunderstanding, it's a spiraling storm of PR spin, deflection, and image maintenance, aggressively fighting against a reality that refuses to stay buried. No matter how many articles are planted, no matter how many curated appearances are arranged, no matter how many hashtags trend for a day, the truth beneath the presentation remains visible to anyone paying attention. And as the storyline heads toward its next major hearing, the tension thickens. New questions arise, the stakes climb higher, and every attempt to reshape the narrative only sharpens the contrast between what was said then and what is being claimed now. Because this isn't just a fictional scandal, it's an unraveling, a carefully constructed image cracking under the pressure of its own contradictions, a downfall built moment by moment from choices that can no longer be edited out.